the chosen ones. Have you ever realized how unstoppable you are? Think about it. What happens when everything intended to bring you down collapses under its own weight? Those who planned against you, attempted to extinguish your light, stand face to face with the inescapable reality. They could not break you. They couldn't even get near. The tables have reversed, and the weapons built in their hubris have crumbled in their grasp. This is not a coincidence. This is your moment. A moment that demonstrates your inborn ability to excel, regardless of the chances. Feel the fire inside you. It is not random. It's confirmation that you've been selected, protected, and destined for greatness. Every effort to take you down has just strengthened you. Every plot they devised to defeat you has backfired. You are now in the midst of a divine upheaval, a turning point that declares no weapon devised against me will prevail. This is your opportunity to claim what has always been yours. Stand tall, the chosen one. You are not simply surviving. You are prospering. The rest of the world cannot help but notice. Let's go. Opposition arises in your life like an unexpected storm, relentless in its pursuit. Your distinctive light shines what others lack. This realization causes pain. Those who are unable to recreate what you represent often target their fears at you, appearing as jealousy camouflaged in premeditated actions. They fail to see that their violence stems from deep-seated concerns of inadequacy rather than power. In a year defined by relentless hardships, their actions have demonstrated that the obligations put on you were not light nor unintentional. Every difficulty was planned. Every deception honed like the edge of a razor, attempting to slice your soul. These assaults intended to isolate you, undermine your confidence, and make you vulnerable. However, there was an invisible barrier protecting you, an unchanging force standing between you and damage, deflecting every stroke before it reached its intended target. Each effort to shatter you became an unintentional cause for your resilience. Their carefully crafted strategies collapsed, revealing faults inherent in the design. Victory was never intended to be achieved via your own efforts, but rather as part of a larger promise. What they erected on unstable footing could not resist the inevitable, just as no attempt misaligned with divine truth can. Their demise, gradual but definite, was predetermined from the outset. Their hubris blinded them to the fact that their plans were fundamentally weak. Those who felt they were untouchable were brought down by their own actions. What was supposed to undermine you has instead become the foundation of your resilience. As the dust from their efforts settles, it is clear that this was never a struggle only for you. However, it demonstrates a deeper dedication, a force that supports people called to a higher cause. Every failed weapon, every foiled scheme, is proof not of human ingenuity, but of a larger orchestration at work. The strength you demonstrated was not isolated. It was strengthened by a steadfast connection to an unfathomable energy. As their pride crumbles and their secret goals become apparent, the aftermath strips them of the instruments they formerly used. They are burdened not just by failure, but also by the unavoidable fact that their efforts were never meant to succeed. Victory burns like an unstoppable flame, blazing the path cut by a power much greater than any earthly force. When dishonest schemes fail and the tide shifts, individuals who formerly intended to trap others get ensnared in the repercussions of their own actions. Shame, a subtle but unyielding force, starts its work, gradually taking root until blossoming into a storm that destroys everything in its path. It is not a transient experience, but rather an unmistakable encounter with the reality, a mirror reflecting the weight of their decisions and the hubris that drove them to defy a fate beyond their comprehension. The traps set in secret to tarnish and wound have become the very foundations of their downfall. Their confidence crumbles in front of the same audience they previously hoped to impress. The ovation that had empowered them has now given way to undertones of disgust. This reckoning does not take place in the shadows, but rather in the harsh light of exposure. What was formerly concealed is now difficult to ignore, and the same areas they exploited to attack others have revealed their own flaws. Justice moves not as a weapon of vengeance, but as an unwavering force of equilibrium, restoring what has been dislocated. The load of responsibility is heavier than any chain, and for some, it serves as a catalyst for change, a chance to face their path and seek a return to authenticity. For others, it is a constant reminder of the consequences of disobedience. Their carefully planned plans crumbled like flimsy buildings in the face of an unshakable reality. The tables do not just turn. They alter the earth under them. As the dust settles, those who desired damage are still trapped by the repercussions of their acts, while you are unmoved. The narrative has transformed completely, not because to revenge, but because truth won. Where deception failed, murmurs, plans, and efforts to undermine all became irrelevant, leaving leaves an unmistakable discovery. They were mistaken, and their failure spoke louder than their acts ever could. It's time to spread God's blessings by pressing the super thank you button on YouTube. With a $100 gift or more, you can help him realize his vision and be a part of this heavenly mission. Every contribution symbolizes God's generosity, and I think it will return back to you enormously, far beyond your expectations. Remember his protection and blessings with each stride and every gift. You become a part of his divine plan. You are a powerful, dazzling entity, as solid as the massive rock that saw God's marvels. Feel the rewards of your kindness in your spirit and light up the world with confidence and bravery. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord lead you. Every plan they created, every move they made, was carried out. The weight of their arrogance and false assurance reflects their conviction in their own superiority. However, there comes a moment when the weight of their ambitions becomes too much to bear. It is not only the failure of their efforts that compels individuals to renounce their goals. It is the obvious realization that their acts have become empty and ineffective. What previously seemed like power now serves as a constant reminder of their failure. They give up their efforts not silently, but with a clear recognition of loss. This is hardly an easy surrender. It is a time of reckoning, a knowledge that their well-planned strategies have failed, and their words, once cutting, now echo without effect the implements of destruction. Symbols reflecting their ambition to control are now abandoned, no longer serving their function. Their disposal contains a subtle confession. Their objectives were misguided from the start. Their hands tremble not just from losing, but also from the understanding that they were involved in a conflict that they were never going to win. This move is not just symbolic. It is a watershed moment engineered by an unfathomable power. Their downfall is no coincidence. It serves as a warning that misdirected ambition will always fail in the face of bigger realities. What was designed to do damage has been transformed into a foundation for resilience and progress. Their efforts to enforce their will have merely highlighted the limitations of their power. Strength was never a determining element in this fight. Rather, it was the intrinsic alignment of purpose with a larger design. The instruments they had wielded with confidence were insufficient, since the powers of human pride can never equal the lasting strength of a higher purpose. The results of their labor are more than simply shattered pieces. They are important transformational marks. Even the most steadfast resolution may crumble in the face of overwhelming facts. For those who wanted to injure, the consequences of their acts became unavoidable. Abandoning their ambitions is more than just an act of surrender. It is an inescapable moment of clarity that forces people to confront the truth they attempted to conceal. The opposition was never actually against a person. It was against a force far beyond their reach. And in such a conflict, the conclusion was never in their favor. No weapon made against you will flourish, and you will condemn every mouth that rises against you in judgment. This is the inheritance of the Lord's servants. Isaiah 54:17 picture a storm gathering on the horizon. Fierce gusts, howling, and crashing seas threaten to submerge everything. But suddenly a lighthouse emerges, unwavering and unshaken, its light shining through the mayhem. That is the lighthouse you picked. No matter how fierce the storm, you stood steadfast. You did not resist the waves. You just stood your ground. And now, as the storm lessens, The debris from their assaults washes ashore, revealing the power that got you through. You didn't have to retaliate or answer with the same intensity. Your calm and unflinching trust spoke louder than any war cry. Their defeat is not your trophy to take, but rather a representation of a justice that exists beyond human hands. Those broken weapons and shattered plans, they are not only the remains of failure, they are reminders of the heavenly protection that has always been there for you, sheltering you from danger and anchoring you in a purpose much bigger than their ambitions. Allow me to tell you something. True justice is not loud. It does not come with parades or fireworks. It is the silent development of a complex and unmistakable master plan. The tables flipped not because of your might, but because the Creator himself intervened. What seemed to be anarchy was really his manner of rearranging the pieces, ensuring that every assault, deception, and betrayal served a greater goal. And now, as you stand in the aftermath, it is evident that the triumph was never yours to claim. It was his responsibility to provide. Last year, it seemed like everything was shaking. The audacity of those who attempted to hurt you appeared limitless. They strode confidently, knowing there would be no repercussions for their deeds. But allow me to tell you something about God's justice. It's not hurried, yet it always arrives on time. What was concealed has now been revealed. The foundation they constructed on pride, deception, and hate has shattered. This is not vengeance. This is an example of accountability. Every seed they sown in darkness has now grown to be exposed in the light of truth. But listen closely. The chosen one. This is not a time to celebrate their collapse. This is about realizing the strength that has supported you throughout it all. It's about accepting that you didn't have to wage this war since it was never yours to begin with. You are living evidence of a promise fulfilled. No weapon made against you will succeed. Your duty now is to concentrate on what is ahead rather than what has come before. A change has occurred, and it is larger than you. This is much more than just silencing your adversaries. It refers to a new season in your life, a time of discernment, purpose, and divine harmony. The time for illusions is past. The opposition's roar is decreasing. And now it's time for you to truly embrace what has always been yours. Build your faith, cultivate your trust, and allow the basis of his promises guide you forward. The chosen one. Hear me? You're the lighthouse. And your light is now more important than ever. Stand firm, not out of pride, but out of purpose. The struggle was not about them, and it was not about you. It was always about his vision for your life. And now, with the storm behind you and the horizon ahead, go confidently, knowing that his justice is faultless. His timing is impeccable, and his promises are unshakable. Nothing seeded with malice can stay hidden forever. The buildings they constructed with pride and deception are now wrecks of their own construction. Silence replaces sarcastic laughter, and what previously drove their deeds collapses under the weight of obvious reality. For you, this is more than just a moment of vindication. It fulfills long-awaited promises. Every silent cry, every fought uncertainty, and every decision to remain faithful has led you here. What you saw, heard, and waited for has finally been answered, leaving no doubt about the purpose that drove you ahead. The metamorphosis of something designed to hurt you into something that uplifts you demonstrates a power much larger than any human plan. In this moment, shame is replaced with acknowledgement, and lies crumble under the weight of obvious truth. Those who attempted to minimize you are now faced with the consequences of their own actions. The effects of their plots go well beyond their aims, casting shadows on their ties and reputations. The repercussions acts not only as justice, but also as a powerful message to others of the unavoidable consequences of poor decisions. This watershed moment emphasizes the unbreakable concept that no action is exempt from responsibility, and every purpose bears weight. The environment around you changes, revealing the frail basis of those who attempted to undermine you. However, this reckoning is not an invitation to celebrate their downfall. It is a serious recognition of commitments kept, a tangible example of better order triumphing over disorder. Justice has spoken with accuracy rather than wrath, restoring equilibrium while maintaining compassion. The Lord directs a good man's ways, and he takes pleasure in them. Psalm 3723. Consider a sculptor chipping away at a slab of marble. Each hit of the chisel reveals something exquisite concealed beneath. That's you, the chosen one. Every obstacle, suffering, and tribulation. It was not intended to break you. It was made to showcase the masterpiece you were meant to be. The bits that crumbled away, the portions that seemed gone, were never intended to be. What remains is polished, robust, and ready for the mission you were always meant to serve. Your past has formed you, but it does not define you. The hardships, however intense, were never lasting. They were stepping stones to help you prepare for what is ahead. The path ahead is not easy, but it is filled with promise. Each step you take now is directed by a divine design, with every delay, closed door, and unexpected turn precisely timed to get you here. You may not see the whole image yet, but believe me, the plan that is developing for you is beyond your wildest imagination. Those who attempted to obstruct your path have found themselves tripping on their own plans. The reality that they attempted to conceal has emerged, shedding light on every hidden motivation and fake relationship. Relationships constructed on deception have broken, leaving those who stood in the dark to confront the repercussions of their actions. This is not a time for gloating, but rather for contemplation, a warning that siding with lies usually results in a fall. And yet, here you are, climbing higher, unaffected by the chaos around you. The light lighting your path right now is not just for you. It is for others to see. Your perseverance exemplifies the power of honesty and purpose. You've become an example, a living lesson that walking in truth, no matter how tough, always leads to success. The world is watching, not to see you fail, but to see how far you can go. Your tale inspires people to make new choices, to pursue a purpose that is unwavering under pressure. The path ahead requires bravery. You can no longer go with reluctance or uncertainty since what is planned for you is waiting. Each step forward strengthens the mission you've been called to complete. This is not the conclusion of the battle, but rather the beginning of a new season. A season in which clarity replaces confusion, strength replaces exhaustion, and purpose motivates all actions. Look around to see what stays true, the purpose, and the unshakable resilience. What you've been through has taken away what was unneeded, leaving just what is required for the path ahead. You're not the same as before. You have been polished, reinforced, and lifted. And now is the moment to fully embrace what has been provided for you. The chosen one. Listen to me. This is your moment. Not because the route will be easy, but because you are prepared. Walk bravely, eyes set ahead, knowing that every step is part of a larger plan. The light that leads you is steadfast, and the mission that awaits you is certain. What has been lost? What went away? It never ended. It was the start of something far bigger than you could have ever dreamed. The emerging ramifications go well beyond simple responsibility, bearing the weight of a greater mission. This moment represents the destruction of repressive practices and the systems that supported them. The obvious consequences of wrongdoing serve as a sharp warning, pushing people who could have followed similar pathways to rethink their decisions as the deeds of the past reverberate outward. They not only challenge individual actions, but also change the greater fabric of communal thinking, making room for truth and integrity to bloom where deception formerly flourished. This isn't limited to one event. It is part of a larger shift that affects individuals and communities. The lessons learned from these disclosures spread outward, altering how justice is viewed and reminding the world of a greater power at work. These adjustments result in a clear message. Actions have repercussions, and damage meant for others will eventually fail to accomplish its aim. The events happening today demonstrate the lasting force of ideals that cannot be shaken or reversed. For individuals who have been called to witness these occurrences, this serves as both affirmation and accountability. What you see is more than just a sequence of results. It is a representation of what occurs when principles of truth are respected. These are reflective times, not celebratory ones. an opportunity to lead by example. Every decision, stride of faith, every act of resilience now has a new significance, emphasizing the necessity of staying on track even in the face of hardship. You are a live reminder that justice is not restricted by circumstance. What was once an instrument of damage is now abandoned since it no longer serves its function. This abandoning is more than simply a surrender. It is also a deep acknowledgement of futility. These relics are more than just symbols. They bear the weight of failed ambitions and misguided trust. The act of letting go often puts people face to face with realities they can no longer ignore, forcing introspection and providing a choice between continuing along a road of resistance or accepting the possibility of change. The likelihood of change remains questionable, but the chance demonstrates the persistent ability for development and rebirth, even in the aftermath of failure. The developing circumstances serve as a powerful reminder of the hidden barrier that has always protected you. Regardless of how fierce or unrelenting the opposition seemed, their efforts were never a legitimate danger. The invisible presence defending you made every scheme against you ineffective. Their eventual retreat is more than simply an admission of failure. It is also proof of the strength that has always been working for you. Even when the obstacles were overwhelming, you were never really vulnerable because a power much bigger than any foe stood steady alongside you. The challenges you experienced were never symptomatic of vulnerability, but rather of the fundamental power you had. Each struggle demonstrated the depth of your resilience and the meaning that has been weaved throughout your life. The failure of those who attempted to undermine you demonstrates that retribution was never your weapon. Instead, your faith and clarity of purpose shined as unbreakable barriers for the light inside you. Others found it impossible to understand or dismiss, revealing hidden agendas and dismantling plots long before they became apparent. This success is more than simply a personal win. It is an unmistakable demonstration of a higher force working through you to accomplish what human effort alone could not. The adventure you took was never limited to the surface. It was a deep meeting with forces that challenged the fundamental foundation of reality. However, in this hidden universe, you were always armed with the necessary tools to succeed. Your source of strength turned every challenge into a chance to demonstrate the power of aligning with a greater calling. Adversity was designed to undermine you, but it really honed your talents and strengthened your will. What you are experiencing today is not only survival, but ascension, as the trials you have overcome have prepared you to enter into your job with confidence and purpose. This time requires you to accept a new path devoid of bitterness and guided by knowledge. It is not the time to focus on others' failings, but rather to celebrate the justice that has paved the road for progress. What lies ahead necessitates forgiveness, not as a surrender, but as a way of freeing oneself from the weight of the past. Letting go is an act of tremendous fortitude, a proclamation that your attention is focused on the opportunities ahead rather than the hurdles that formerly attempted to confine you. You have just enhanced your position, allowing you to confidently pursue your goal. Those who intended to hurt you now bear their humiliation as you go ahead, feeling vindicated and powerful. You've taken this trip not only for yourself, but also for others who will follow in your footsteps. Now becomes a source of knowledge and power. For others, once insurmountable obstacles have become a basis for mentoring people facing similar hardships. Your perseverance is more than simply a personal achievement. It sends a message of hope to others and demonstrates the power of perseverance and trust. Step ahead with confidence, knowing that you are no longer the same person who began this struggle. You've emerged with more clarity, insight, and a reinvigorated sense of purpose. This time requires you to lead with honesty, heal with compassion, and light the way for others who are still looking for their way. The troubles of the past have faded, and the future is defined by purpose and faith in a larger design. True triumph comes from accepting progress rather than seeking retaliation. It is a quiet recognition of justice served and a deliberate decision to let go of what no longer serves you. By choosing forgiveness, you free yourself from the lingering consequences of previous confrontations. This is not an excuse for damage, but rather a refusal to let it define your future. It is a brave deed that demonstrates your unflinching confidence in a purpose much higher than any human aim. The challenges and objections you encountered have been made ineffective, leaving you unburdened and exalted. This season asks you to apply the lessons learned on your journey to inspire others. Your narrative, once full with adversity, is now a tribute to strength, tenacity, and everlasting faith. You have become an example to those in need of direction, a reminder that light can shine even in the darkest of situations. Move on with conviction, knowing that what lies ahead is not a random occurrence, but rather the culmination of a meticulously crafted plan. The conflicts you faced have prepared you for this time, and you're ready to accept your position as a guide, healer, and source of enlightenment for others. What was once a struggle has become a platform for leadership, and the future is urging you to take bold steps toward being all that you are intended to be.